Hello everybody. Hey, I just got into my office. I'm so excited about talking with you guys again. And I just got off the phone with Bob Proctor. I tell you what, that man is a dynamo, and I'm really looking forward to doing more stuff with this program of his in the future. All right, welcome to podcast 29. Hypnotists can integrate the law of attraction for success, part 2. Now let me tell you something. I'm particularly excited, jazzed, enthused, whatever you want, this week because I got my hands on a copy of the original book, the one that started the whole law of attraction phenomenon and inspired the secret movie. It is entitled The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, and it was published in 1910. My goodness. And if you track back through some of the great teachers who have been part of the self-development movement over the more than last century, you'll find that he is like the grandfather, the grandpappy of the movement. And I got to read the original text today. I'm so excited. And in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you how you can get a copy of that original text for free by way of an ebook. And then you can have a great weekend like I did. All right, as I read through the book, I made some notes that I'm going to share with you today, and maybe it's going to be too much to get into one podcast, so you know we're building on the series here. If you really utilize, understand what's in that book and what I'm going to share with you today, your hypnosis practice is going to grow and grow. And really, you can use this information to improve any circumstance, any business, or any financial situation. Really, if you're in a state of wanting this information that I'm going to be giving you today, and it's also in the book, it will really get you moving forward. Okay. At the end of this podcast, I'm going to give you a URL. That's a website or a link where you can go and download your own free copy of the ebook. All right, and of course, before I get started, I want to remind you, go to our websites. If you're not on calbanyan.com, if you're listening to this video podcast through some other system, because we've got worldwide global distribution on our podcast, please go to calbanyan.com, and right down there, right underneath this video, right down there, you will find some links to all the resources I'm going to be talking about. And also, in addition to calbanyan.com, go to the www.banyanhypnosismall.com and www.hypnosiscenter.com. All right. Now, let me start going through my notes. And you'll notice when you watch your podcast, sometimes I'm looking down a little bit. That's because I have my video monitor, my computer monitor right here in front of me and right below the camera. So excuse me if I'm not always looking right up at you. So the name of the book is The Science of Getting Rich. And if there was a subtitle, that subtitle would be Doing Things in a Certain Way, because it's really about learning how to think, feel, and act in a certain way. Because Mr. Wattles went out, and what he did is he researched and observed all these different people who were really becoming wealthy and noticed that they were doing some things in a very certain way. He also studied the great philosophers, spiritual leaders, and really tried to find that golden thread of truth that is laced in between all these great philosophies and theologies, and he crystallized it down into his rather slim book. The version, the ebook that I've got for you, it's only like 60-something pages. It can be read in a short period of time, but studied for a lifetime. Okay, so I'm just going to share with you my notes. And of course, it's nowhere as good as reading the actual book yourself, but maybe you can begin to maybe take some notes here and be able to implement this until you can read the book. Okay. Number one, decide what you want. You need to really crystallize what you want your hypnosis practice to look like. What do you want your office to look like? What do you want the building to look like? What do you want your clients to look like? Who do you want to serve? And how many people do you want to see a day, a week, a month? What kind of income would you like to make in your practice? Now really, once again, what I'm saying can be used for anything. You might say, what kind of home do you want? If you're single, what kind of spouse do you want? And you really want to crystallize this. Get it firmly in your mind. And then, according to the book, according to what Wallace D. Wattles says, to make this work for you, I mean really work for you, he says, you must believe. And I'm going to read some things to you. You must believe there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. Now, if you happen to see the movie What the Bleep Do You Know, or Do We Know, whatever it is, you'll know that quantum physicists are validating this idea nowadays, that there is this kind of energy that's in between this quantum energy. And your thoughts have an effect on how that quantum energy begins to behave and what it begins to do. And it is the stuff that all things are made out of. Secondly, you must believe a thought pressed into this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. So when you start getting a crystallized vision of something that you want, okay, it actually begins to be imprinted on the reality in which you live. Now, it doesn't suddenly snap into being, because in the world of reality, in physical reality where we live, there is a dimension called time. And so it's going to require some consistency, some persistency, and some building a habit in which you think and act and feel in certain ways. I remember when Maureen, my wife, and I were putting together the Hypnosis Center back in the olden days, back in 1996. I mean, we really started studying around because we wanted to get an idea of exactly what we wanted. And we started looking at places we wanted to put our office. You see, I didn't want to be the lone hypnotist. I wanted to have a hypnosis center that had several offices, and so we start crystallizing what we wanted. See, we would not have known if we had found the right location for our office unless we knew what we wanted. Then we were very quickly able to find the right location. Then we were able to very quickly design the specific offices. When we found the location, it was a strip mall, and we found this one space. It was 20 feet wide by 100 feet deep, 4 walls. It was absolutely blank, and we got the opportunity to go in and decide exactly the hallway, exactly the waiting room, exactly each office, you see, and we crystallized it, and then we manifested it into being, and that's where we were for 5 years. And then, because we started thinking about growing into a school, we manifested the school, and it just so happened that the space next to us became empty, and we were able to move into that space and create our classroom and all the wonderful things we did in that office. And you know, there's so much power in getting a vision. Next, you must believe you can form things in this thought, and by impressing this thought upon formless substance, you can cause the thing, okay, that you think about to be created. Let me kind of paraphrase that. You must believe that you can take these thoughts and these ideas and these visions and impress them into the world and to make them happen. And that's the law. That is the law. It's not like maybe it will happen, but if you do these things in a certain way, then you will be able to create your life, your hypnosis practice, your business the way you want it to be. Finally, he says, you must believe, in order to do this, man must pass from the competitive to the creative mind. He must form a clear mental picture of the things he wants and hold his picture in his thoughts with the fixed purpose to get what he wants and the unwavering faith that he does get what he wants, closing his mind against all that may tend to shake his purpose, dim his vision, or quench his faith. What is he talking about there? He's talking about what? Two important things. First, there is competitive mind, and then there is focus and persistence, kind of put together. I remember when we first opened our school in Minnesota, and a lot of people said, "Are you crazy, Cal? You're going to train people to do what you do and create competition right in your own area?" And I told them, I don't believe in competition, at least not in our profession, because there's not nearly enough of us. I believe that the more we build our profession, the more good, well-qualified, trained, competent hypnotists that we get in our profession, the more and more people are going to want to come to us. And that's what I found out. As we started training and putting people both in our immediate area, in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area of Minnesota, and then around the world, my hypnotherapy practice grew. And we went from having 2 or 3 hypnotherapists on staff all the way up to 5 hypnotherapists, and sometimes being booked out weeks in advance. Why? Because as we started educating these people, we raised the consciousness in our community, in the state, in the United States, and around the world. And when we raise the consciousness about how useful hypnosis is, then more and more people want to see a well-trained hypnotist, such as a 5-path hypnotherapist. Okay, then the other thing is staying purposeful and staying really focused. You know what? There's so many naysayers. I was having dinner last night with a friend of mine, and I was talking about the SGR program, the Secret Getting Rich program. And I couldn't believe it. He was a wealth. He just was giving me all these wonderful ideas to help me get the message out there and to build our affiliate program. I just wrote down a list and I emailed it to myself from home because it was huge. And we're going to do a lot of things with that list of ideas that he gave me. And I said to him, boy, you know, you've got all these great ideas. I feel bad about taking them and running with it and building up our Secret Getting Rich affiliate program. And even with all that knowledge, he hesitated to get in himself. He's going to look at it. He hasn't seen the movie yet, The Secret. To me, it was obvious that he could become very wealthy using the Secret of Getting Rich program with the marketing techniques that he knows. So hopefully he'll get in, but if he doesn't, he gave me a gift of gold in that all those wonderful marketing ideas that he gave. Now, Wattles goes on in his book to talk about something else really important, and this is so key. And on the telephone call today with Bob Proctor, he also alluded to this. and that is never look at the visible supply. Always look at the limitless riches in formless substance and know that they are coming to you as fast as you can receive them. Okay, too many people are hung up in the reality trap. They look at where they are now. They look at the opportunities they have now. They look at their history, and they are walking through life backwards. They're not looking where they're going. They're looking where they've been. And they keep creating the same life of mundaneness or lack or frustration. We need to stop looking at visible supply. If you're going to, if you're going to work just from the rational analytical mind, that's what you're stuck with. But if you're going to start using these higher faculties, these higher powers, and build your practice using the law of attraction, you got to get out of the reality trap. What do you have to do? You need to start really thinking about what you want. And then you've got to start feeling the feelings that are congruent with that, and then taking those actions that are consistent with what you want. And I talked about those in podcast number 28. Anyone can go back and look at those. But he says never look at the visible supply when you're trying to put together your desired plan, what you want. Doing so will lead to, frustration and limiting beliefs and that kind of thing. In fact, on the call I was on today with Bob Proctor, he said, you do everything that I've been telling you about right now. And he says, get those plans, get those dreams, do that fantasy, and then be so bold as to magnify it by 5 times, 9 times, even 10 times. And he said, when you do that, be aware of what starts coming to you. Do you suddenly get the urge to call someone? Do you suddenly get the urge to read this book or that book? You see, when you start expanding your consciousness in this way, you expand your possibilities and you go beyond your normal everyday patterns of thought. Just like what we do with the 7-path self-hypnosis system. Okay? We've got to raise ourselves. Or another word is to ascend. Okay. Number 4 in my notes here is always think what you want to think, which is the truth, regardless of appearances. So this is a lot like what I was just saying. Sometimes, you see, last podcast was talking about tell people what you want to do, be accountable, but if you think that would get in your way, because people will be so negative to you, okay, then maybe sometimes you want to just keep it to yourself. You see, always think what you want to think, which is the truth, regardless of appearances. What is he talking about? He said, if you really want to use the law of attraction, then reality's got nothing to do with it as far as the physical reality we live in. Truth is what you are creating in your mind. And hypnotherapists out there, it's time for you to start thinking about what you can do. If you're a well-trained hypnotherapist, you can create miracles in people's lives. They're eating too much, drinking too much, smoking too much. They're depressed, frustrated, and lonely. And if you've got the right kind of training and you're competent, you can do things that no other professional can do. And you can do it more rapidly than any other professional can do. So get good training, get out there, and start using this law of attraction to really bring this stuff in. Number 5 in my notes from reading this book, dealing with others. Always give to everyone more than you take from them. Whenever you make a deal, make sure it's at least a little bit sweeter for the other guy than it is for you. See, the law of attraction. When you are giving more and more to people, you're going to draw more and more in. You see, okay, let me see if I can explain how I understand this. People are looking for sweet deals. if you start creating sweet deals, you're going to pull in sweet deals. If it's your intention to give people what they want, they desperately want and need. It could be a hypnotherapy session, or it could be some other kind of deal. Make good deals. What I'd like you to do is start thinking about win-win, right? We've heard that until, gosh, our ears fall off. Win-win. What I want you to think about is win-win, and the font of the other guy's win is 1 point bigger than the font, win-win. You still win, but when you send out a really good deal for the other guy, what happens? Everybody's looking for those kind of deals, and you're going to have more and more good deals coming in. All right. 6, on my note, impress your wants upon substance in a coherent statement. Know what you want and keep it passionately in your thoughts. That's right. Now, how do we do this? Now, if you're a hypnotherapist, you know how to write truly excellent hypnotic suggestions. You know how to write truly successful affirmations. You want to take that picture and then that I've been talking about, and then distill it down to some words that capture that picture, you see? Because then what we do is we start using left and right brain, and we're using all of our mind. See? So both get the picture. Think about a caption that goes underneath every picture that you create. If you're doing a moving picture, it's like the subtitles. But you think, like, let's say you want to have a new office space, right? Then you get a good picture in your mind of exactly what that would be, and then in a sentence or 2 or 3, put it into words. And then, when you do things in your life, do it with the intent to bring that around. Gosh, I'm making really good time with this podcast. My intent in podcast, the next one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this information and I'm going to talk about how you can begin to serve your clients better using these principles. We're going to go through each one of these, and we're going to talk about, okay, how can we use this in a hypnotic script, or what hypnosis technique would be the very best to bring this about. Or sometimes it might not even be a hypnotic technique. So right now I'm talking to you, the hypnotist, that should know those techniques and how to use it on yourself. Use these principles on yourself. Grow your hypnosis practice like crazy. But then next podcast, I'm going to talk about how to use these techniques to make your clients even more successful. Okay, let's see. Number 7. I almost skipped it on the screen. I was so excited I rolled down too far. Focus your will on yourself and not others. For it is by focusing on yourself that you will receive the most benefit. See, the law of attraction attracts stuff to you. You see, so you need to focus on you, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're visualizing, and your actions. Don't try to use the law of attraction on other people. You see, that your point of power in the law of attraction is by focusing on yourself. Number 8, according to Wallace D. Wattles, God wants to experience success and all good things through us. Now, I don't know what your take is on God, but what Wattles is saying here is, it appears in his belief system that we're all a part of God, and we are not separate from God. And God wants us to experience wealth, prosperity, and all good things. And God gets to experience that too. So when you go out and you build a wonderful life for yourself, and you have wonderful experiences of love and companionship and wealth and security, then according to Wallace Wattles, I don't know what your belief system is, but God gets to experience them too. Number 9, the law of gratitude. Wallace Wattles says, thankful praise to the Supreme is a liberation or expenditure of force It cannot fail to reach that to which it is addressed. And the creation is an instantaneous movement towards you. What is this? We need to thank the source, however or whatever or whoever you perceive the source of all these things to be. Okay? Thank the source. Be in gratitude for what you have now. I mean, even if you're sitting there with a black and white TV and an electric range with only one heating spot on it, and you've got and your car is 10 or 20 years old, do you realize how wealthy you are compared to most people in the world? Think about that. How wealthy you are compared to most people, the vast majority of people throughout the world. Think about this. How fortunate you are to people who lived only 100 years ago, and everyone that lived before 100 years ago. Even if you've got a 35-year-old jalopy and you've only got one light bulb in your house, okay, you are so wealthy compared to everyone that's ever existed since before about 100 years ago, and you're still wealthy compared to most people today. As you become aware of the wealth that you have now, and you become grateful to it, and you send that feeling of gratitude out to your source, it brings you closer to more wealth. It creates that conduit of flow for all the things that you want. Now, yes, be grateful for what you have now, but what you can have and what you can create in that co-creatorship, partnership with your source is truly unlimited. Number 10, according to Wattles in 1910, we can do the most for humanity when we are rich. He says, God wants you to be rich. Well, I created a group on Yahoo where it's just for people who want to talk about the secret movie and the law of attraction, stuff like that. And I've been leading a discussion there on each one of the free lessons that you can get from our website, banyangroup.thesgrprogram.com. You can get free lessons, 7 free lessons on the law of attraction from the teachers presented in the secret movie. I've been leading a discussion on each one of those lessons as I've been encouraging people to go to the site and get that. And some people are saying, wait a minute, you can live a very rich life without having a big fat bank account. And I have to say, you know what? I believe that's true. I believe that there are people out there who live very wonderful, very fulfilling lives, and they don't have big bank accounts. However, I think that all of them could do even more if they were wealthy. For example, I'm sure that Mother Teresa always welcomed large donations to her cause. You see, I'm sure that people were out there helping people who live in the street, helping people who are youngsters that need some guidance. They all could do more if they had $1 million in their bank account. You see? And God, in my belief system anyway, wants us to help others. And when we help others, we experience love, gratitude, and all these wonderful things which lead to a more fulfilling life. So, you can live your ultimate, most satisfying life if you have the funds and the means to do those things. Okay, I did it. I don't know how long it's been, but I feel like I got to the material very quickly. Before I wrap it up, I want to remind you, go to www.calbanyan.com, go to www.did.It, BanyanHypnosisMall.com. Go to www.hypnosiscenter.com, and please, if you want to get those free lessons I was talking about, or if you want to get in on, I think, what is a tremendous prosperity opportunity, go to www.banyangroup.thesgrprogram.com. And we've got all the information there to where you can join us in what we're doing, and we're going to be there to support you all the way. One of my favorite ways to set up a relationship is the win-win, and knowing that I succeed best when I help you succeed. Okay, one last thing. Please, while you're on the mall or on hypnosiscenter.com, check into our upcoming programs. We've got one just a few weeks in UK, the Week of Power, and we've got our certification courses coming up. I think that's in July. And of course, remember to go to the NGH convention, the biggest, the best, the friendliest hypnosis convention in the world. I'm going to be there. Introduce yourself. Tell me that you saw my podcast and that that it's useful for you. Okay, that's it for now. I got my dinger. That's it for this week. And, well, heck, at least for today, I might get another podcast in pretty quick. All right. Cal Banyan, over and out.
This recording is the property of Cal Banyan and Cal Banyan's Banyan Publishing Incorporated. All rights reserved, for private use only, may not be duplicated without written permission.